This is phase 3 of the Kaizen system. In phase 1, we learned about our KPIs and which ones we're going to focus on. In phase 2, we learned about getting data in a Pareto chart so we can identify what the big hurdles are preventing us from reaching our goals. And in today's module, we're going to learn about getting our team's ideas on which processes we should improve. And we're going to do that right now. You've been diligent in collecting data for your Pareto, and now it's time to get your team to huddle around that data and identify where the improvements are that you need to make. We're going to capture ideas from our team. This is phase number 3 of the Kaizen system. We have to capture, prioritize, and schedule our ideas for continuous improvement. The secret sauce to any continuous improvement program is really engaging your team. It's not enough to have one MacGyver, one person in your facility who just loves problem solving. They want to go tackle everything while everybody else sits on the sidelines. Instead, we want to create an army of problem solvers. So number 1, we got to let your team know that their ideas matter. Okay. You're doing this in your morning huddle meeting. You're getting together as a team and discussing the problems and listening very intently to every single person on the team to get their ideas out. They may not come easily at first. You may have some people that are really vocal, some people that are holding back, but I promise, as you talk about your metrics every day, as you talk about your Pareto and your problems every day, eventually even the quietest individuals will come up with ideas and suggestions on what we can improve. Number 2, we need to increase the number of finder-fixers by giving more people the skills. That's why you send your team to Lean and Six Sigma Yellow Belt training. That's why you teach them root cause problem solving. You teach them about DMAIC or PDCA because you want them to be able to identify waste, variation, and overburdening, and then have the tools they need to solve problems. And then finally, build that army of problem solvers by gathering your team together every morning in your daily huddle. Here's a pro tip. Teams don't need to have the answers, right? This is a really, I think, a poor management theory that has crept into our businesses. I've heard some leaders say, don't come to me with a problem unless you have a solution. Think about how much that shuts down everybody's creativity. And not only that, it can actually suppress problems. And we want to do the opposite in Lean. We want to surface our problems. We want to know about everything that's going wrong and all the little problems in the process, so that we can find solutions for them. Eventually, we can find countermeasures, something better, a better way to do it. We can't do that if everybody is expected to know the answers. So sometimes an operator in a production line knows what the problems are, for example, with the equipment or with the materials, but they don't know what the answer is. We want them to come to us with those ideas anyway, so that we can get the team together. And as a team, we're going to look at the data, look at the problem, and we'll come up with an answer as the team. We'll come up with an experiment we're going to run to see if we can try to run that process a little bit better. So capturing the ideas from the team should be an exercise in identifying a process. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, every problem is caused by a process that is broken. So remember, phase 1, we identified a goal. Phase 2, we identified the problems that are preventing us from hitting that goal. Now we're gathering employee ideas in phase 3. And those ideas should be, I think this process is broken. It's the way we handle the material, or the way we assemble the product is broken, or the way we test it is broken. We're looking for processes that are the problem. Remember the old saying, what in our process allowed this to happen? That is the magic sentence we want to ask. We don't want to ask whose fault it is, or, why did you guys make this mistake? It's a very simple, what in our process allowed this to happen? And exactly which process was it that was broken that we need to improve? Dr. Deming said, if you can't describe what you're doing as a process, you don't know what you're doing. What do we mean by that? Well, can you describe step by step how the job is done? Now, there are 3 types of process problems. Number 1, there is no process in place at all. There's just everybody's winging it. Number 2, there could be a process that is in place, but it's just the wrong process. It doesn't give you the right results. And every process is perfectly designed to give you the results that you're getting. Finally, number 3, processes exist and they're documented, but they're not being followed. I've been into companies several times working on a process improvement where we pull up the documentation and we look at it and we're like, oh, wow, this is actually really good. Somebody put some considerable thought into this process. we're just not following it, right? We're not doing what the documentation says we need to do. And we've fixed a lot of problems just by following the process that was put in place, months, years ago, that nobody really wanted or decided to follow, and we just have to adhere to it. This brings us to the Kaizen Idea Card. The Kaizen Idea Card is such an awesome tool because anytime someone has an idea, you just write it on the card, capture it on your daily huddle board, and now you've got that documented so you can decide as a team which projects we're going to work on and which projects we maybe are not going to be able to get to till later, and which projects we're not going to be able to do at all. The Kaizen Idea Card is a 3x5 card that comes in a pad and allows you to very quickly capture any ideas that your team has instantly when they have that idea. On the front of the card, you'll see a big area where you can write down the problem or idea that somebody has. On the right-hand side, there's a quick reminder of the 8 wastes, as well as variation, overburdening, and safety hazards. These are typical areas that we find ideas for improvement in. Directly below the problem statement is a question asking which KPI, which key performance indicator, would improve if we solved the problem described above. Then there's an area for the baseline, which is the quantified value of how we're performing today. The target, meaning how much do you think we could improve this to if we solve that problem, followed by the actual value that we get and the calculated percent improved. So for example, if our goal was to improve equipment downtime, you might say that our baseline is we currently have a 10% downtime number today. Our target is to get that to less than 1%. Our actual value is we got it to 3% at the end of this project, and then we calculate the percent improved. Below that, there's a line for who submitted the idea. Simply write the name of the person who submitted the idea, or if it's you filling the card out and it's your idea, of course, you just put your name there. Below that, you're going to add the names of the team members who might be involved in this project. Anyone that contributes to or helps should be identified and put on the card. Just below that, there's a very simple effort impact matrix. If this is a low effort, high impact project, you'll notice that's green. Those are the types of projects we want to do first. You can rank it low, medium, high for effort, low, medium, high for impact, and use that as a team to decide which of these cards you want to work on first, second, and third. After you've reviewed the effort and impact as a team, simply circle yes if you're going to do it and put a start date below. If you're not, circle no and then put the reason why you're not going to do it on the back. Some reasons might include we don't have the resources right now. This project's already being handled by another department. We've decided not to prioritize this with our limited bandwidth because of other projects. So, have a good valid reason, but make sure that the employee that submitted the idea is part of that conversation. Again, you're doing this as a team in a huddle. This isn't a throw it over the wall suggestion box where you just throw ideas to some, governing body that decides whether you should do it. This is for your team to manage your own ideas and your projects. Below that, you write the date submitted, the date you started working on it, and the date you completed the project. This is very important because you don't want idea cards sitting on the wall that nobody's working on that just sit there for weeks or months, right? So use the dates to make sure you're staying current with all of your ideas. On the back of the Kaizen card, you have a very simple root cause analysis area, a 5 whys reminder. Dig deep, find out what the root cause is. If you haven't watched the 5 whys training module lately, go ahead and watch that video now. It's great to jump over there. If you know how to do 5 whys well, remember, dig in and go further than you think you should and identify multiple branches of root causes when you're trying to find the optimal solution to the problem, or in other words, the countermeasures that may impact the real root cause of what's going on. Finally, in the bottom section, there's a description of what process changes we made and what the impact was on the company and the team. One example of a good description that I heard of lately was one of my clients said, hey, we fixed this problem where people were ordering things from us that were simply out of stock and we were no longer going to get them in stock. By doing this project, it eliminated a lot of stress from the team where they were constantly worried about keeping these customers happy who were ordering things that were never going to be in stock again. So this project really helped the team, feel better about their processes and how they were taking care of their customers. Explaining that in this area makes this project meaningful. It makes it tangible for the people that did the work. On the right-hand side, you have a quick reminder of which KPIs might have been improved for this project. So you can put a check mark next to those. You can also write over the top of them if you need more room. And then to the right of that, it says, how do you make this improvement stick? And it walks you through key components of what you would call a control plan in the Six Sigma DMAIC process, but it's just good best practices. Did we chart our KPIs over time? Did we put visual controls in place, mistake proofing, 5S? Did we document the new process? Have we trained everyone to the new process? Are we following standard work? Have we done leadership follow-up? Have we rewarded and recognized our team? So these are all great little reminders at the end of your project to just check these boxes and make sure you did everything right, tied this project up with a bow. If you ever need the instructions for the card, here they are. Just, again, it's really straightforward and easy to follow, so I don't think you'll need too much instruction. The best thing to do is just grab these cards and get going on it, right? Just try it out. Again, it doesn't take a lot of work. And once your team gets used to filling these out, you'll find you're a lot more organized and you don't let any ideas slip through the cracks. If somebody has a great idea, it's not just disappearing. Now you've got a way to manage that idea. Using the effort impact matrix on the Kaizen Idea Card, it's easy to prioritize which ideas to start working on first. If you look at the matrix on the screen here, you'll see there are some projects that have low effort but high impact. Those you should do immediately. Quick wins, you're going to get a big bang for your buck. Now, which ones do you do second? Is it high effort, high impact, or low effort, low impact? I'll tell you which ones I like to do the most. I like low effort, low impact. Why? The low effort projects are going to get done quickly. You're going to get momentum and you're going to solve some small problems that are maybe bugging your team or the company and just get those out of the way, which is going to make more room, more bandwidth to do the other types of projects. So in your morning huddles, hopefully you have your huddle board set up, but as part of your huddle board, you should also have a Kaizen Kanban board. What do we mean by that? Well, it's a Kaizen board because it's a board just for managing your continuous improvement projects. And it's a Kanban board because, as you know, a Kanban limits the amount of work you do and it signals you when to do a job. So let's go through it. On the idea side here, we have our effort impact matrix where we're prioritizing our idea cards. Then you have a slot for one card in the to-do area and 2 cards in the doing area. That is the Kanban. It limits you to working on only 2 projects at once and only have 1 project in the queue, which is the project that's up next, right? Which one are we going to work on after we clear one out of the doing area? And then, of course, you have the done area where you're keeping all the Kaizen idea cards that you've finished over the last 12 months. Get a good stack there so you can reward and recognize your team and you can see all the hard work that you've put into continuous improvement over the past year. Here's a larger version of what I just showed you, the Kaizen Kanban board. So why do I like those low effort, low impact projects? Well, here's why. You need to fix what bugs you. If your employees are frustrated with something, there is nothing better that you can do than find a solution to the problems that are bugging them. Let me give you a few examples. I went to a hospital, wanted to work with them on fixing some of their major issues. And before I could do that, I had to figure out how do I get these people on my team? So I went into the hospital and I started interviewing the staff and I asked, the nurses, the doctors, what is it that bugs you? And I had these nurses that came up to me and they said, hey, well, one of the things that bugs me is we go into patients' rooms and we want to write our notes in the computer, but we can't because the lights are off, the patient's sleeping. So we have to go in the hallway to put our notes in at the nursing station. And when we do that, we get interrupted. We forget what we were going to write. And it's actually, potentially a safety hazard because we forget things. So they said, could we just get some lights over the keyboards? And we talked to the manager there. His name's Curtis. And he's like, sure, we can do that. So Curtis ordered some lights on Amazon and we put them over the keyboards. And just like that, the nurse's problem went away. Another problem they had, we had one nurse that was just short. And she said, I need to reach up really high on these cabinets to get access to the materials I need to do my job. Could I get a step stool? We're like, sure, we can get a step stool. So we got one that day. And then we had another nurse, actually several, that said one of the biggest problems is at night when the cafeteria is closed, we can't get hot water, we can't make coffee. We just need access to that. And we have to walk all the way to the cafeteria and get it ourselves. So we thought, hey, could we just get a coffee machine in here that would allow you to get the hot water you need whenever you need it? And so Curtis went down to Walmart and we bought a coffee machine. And then we had a really nice industrial one installed just a few months later. But these were simple things that we could do right then, that day, that week, that made their life easier. And so now when I go to talk to them and I say, hey, we need to work on this, bigger project that we're working on, they're like, sure, you're here to make my life easier. And I know that you have my best interest in mind. And so they're on board with helping me with the bigger projects. It's a great way to get your team engaged with continuous improvement if the first projects they do are projects that directly help them and impact their day-to-day work. So how do you know if you have a good continuous improvement project? Here are a few ways you can test it. Number one, are you fixing what bugs you? Are you starting with a project that's going to help your team? That's usually a great place to start. Number two, are you aligned to your strategy? Have you found a project that will directly help you reach your strategic goals or the goals of your boss or your team that you've already established at the beginning of the year? Number three, have you chosen bite-sized projects, something that you can improve in a small amount of time, or a bigger project that you've broken down into a bite-sized piece so you don't get overwhelmed, right? So you don't just get buried in what could be a big 6-month-long project when really what you need to do is take that big objective and break it down into something you can do in a couple of weeks. Number four, one and done. Your very first project that you do for continuous improvement should only take 8 to 12 weeks max. That's 2 to 3 months. It should only take you that long to learn all the skills and tools of doing a project. If it's going to take longer than that, it's just way too big. Okay, so do it Kaizen style, Kaizen event style, which is anything you can do in less than 4 weeks, with a Kaizen Blitz event that is a quick, 2-3 day event, or even 4 days, right in the middle of that to get it done. Number five, have total control. What I mean by that is only try to work on projects that are in your area at first. Don't work on a project that involves a lot of people from other departments and approvals from other people. Those are much harder to get done. So start small and work on something where you have control. And finally, look for something where you can get real measurable results. Make sure that you can track some quantifiable data like, throughput, safety, quality, downtime, labor costs, material costs. If you can measure it, then it's easy to show how much you improved it. And when you can show improvements, that helps generate the energy and excitement that your team needs to do more projects and do more process improvement. So does this only apply to manufacturing processes or operations? The answer is no. You can do continuous improvement in any function, in any job. It doesn't matter what your role, position in the company is, what department you're in, what industry you're in. It doesn't matter. Continuous improvement and ideas for improvement can come from anywhere in any department. Here's a few examples from other departments or functions within your company that you may not have thought of. In HR, reducing employee turnover, making training more effective, improving onboarding cycle times, increasing 401k usage. In accounting, reducing the month-end close cycle time, reducing accounts receivable, accounts payable. In procurement, reducing stockouts, expedited shipments, reduce reporting and special requests. In sales, reducing time to close, reducing lost opportunities, increasing the deal size. In marketing, reducing cost of customer acquisition, increasing leads, reducing cost per lead, and optimizing your marketing channels. In R&D, reducing new product development lead times. These are just a few examples of how continuous improvement ideas can be generated, and they're all based on metrics. They're all based on what is the KPI that we care most about. Once we know what that is and we've set a target for it, now we've got a gap to close, and now we can go to our team and get those ideas for process improvement. And that is the end of the Employee Idea Module, Phase 3 of the Kaizen system. Your mission right now is to get a Kaizen Idea Card. You can order these off of our website, or if you want, just get some sticky notes to start. And go out to your team, look at your Pareto, have a huddle, and say, guys, what can we do to improve? What ideas do you have? And start to get your employees engaged in this whole process of thinking and executing on improvement ideas. Once you've mastered that, you're ready for Phase 4, which is problem solving, the next phase in the Kaizen system.